Nachiketa. I know that earthly treasures are transient and can never lead to or reach the eternal. Hence have I renounced all my desires for such transient earthly treasures in order to win immortality through your instruction. Nachiketa, I have spread before your eyes the fulfillment of all worldly desires, power to dominate the earth, celestial delights, miraculous powers beyond space and time. All these, using discrimination and wisdom, have you renounced. The wise realizing through meditation the timeless self, beyond all perception, hidden in the cave of the heart, leave pain and pleasure far behind. Those who know they are neither body nor mind, but the immortal self, Atman, the divine principle of existence. They find the source of all joy and live in that abiding joy. I see the gates of joy are opening for you, Nachiketa, for who you really are does not decay. Teach me about that which does not see right and wrong, cause or effect, past or future. Nachiketa, I will give you the word all the scriptures glorify, all the disciplines strive to express. This word leads sincere aspirants to a life of sense restraint and ego negation. It is Om. This symbol of the eternal vibration is the source of the word Amen, and indicates surrender and trust in thy will be done. Realizing the true significance of Om, one finds fulfillment of all one's needs. That divine current is the greatest support to all spiritual aspirants. Those in whose hearts Om reverberates unceasingly are indeed blessed and manifest the love of the Self. The all-knowing Self was never born, nor will it die. Beyond cause and effect, the Self is eternal and immutable. When the body dies, the Self does not die. If the slayer believes that he can slay, or the slain believes that he can be slain, neither knows the truth. The eternal Self slays not, nor is ever slain. Hidden in the heart of every creature exists the Self, the sublime soul of all. The Self is subtler than the subtlest, greater than the greatest. They go beyond sorrow who extinguish their willfulness and behold the glory of the Self through the grace of the Lord of Love. Though one sits in meditation in a particular place, the Self within can exercise its influence far away. Though still, the Self moves everything, everywhere. When the wise realize the Self, formless in the midst of forms, changeless in the midst of change, omnipresent and supreme. They go beyond sorrow. The self cannot be known through study of the scriptures, nor through the intellect, nor through hearing learned discourses. The self can be attained only by those whom the self chooses. Grace truly falls onto them when the self reveals itself to one. The self cannot be known by anyone who does not desist from unrighteous ways, or who cannot control his senses, nor still his mind, but only one who practices abiding meditation. Unless this is done, one cannot know the omnipresent self, whose glory sweeps away the rituals of the priest and the prowess of the warrior, and puts death itself to death. In the secret cave of the heart, two are seated by life's fountain. The separate ego, ephemeral, drinks of the sweet and bitter stuff, liking the sweet, disliking the bitter, while the Supreme Self, Param Atman, the Eternal, drinks sweet and bitter, neither liking this nor disliking that. The ego gropes in darkness, while the self lives in light. So declare the illumined sages and the householders who worship the sacred in the name of the Lord. May we light your inner fire, Nachiketa, for you are one who does not decay. Then that illumined spark will burn out the ego and allow one to pass from fearful fragmentation to fearless fullness in the changeless whole. Know the self as Lord of the chariot, the body as the chariot itself, the discriminating intellect as the charioteer, and the mind as reins. The senses are the horses, say the wise, and egoistic desires are the roads they travel. When the true self is confused with the body, mind, and senses. The sage then points out that one seems to enjoy pleasure and suffer sorrow. This is because one lacks discrimination, and his mind is undisciplined and makes the senses run hither and thither like wild horses. But they obey the rein like trained horses when one has discrimination and has made the mind one-pointed. Those who lack discrimination, with little control over their thoughts, reach not the pure state of immortality. Instead, they wander from death to death. But those who investigate reality and use discrimination with still mind and pure heart reach journey's end, never again to fall into the jaws of death. With discriminating intellect as charioteer and a purified mind as reins, they attain the supreme goal of life, self-realization, and are united with the Lord of love. The senses derive from objects of sense perception. The sense objects from the mind. Mind from the intellect. And intellect from ego consciousness. Ego consciousness from undifferentiated pure consciousness. And undifferentiated consciousness from Brahman, which is your very self, Nachiketa. Brahman is the first cause and last refuge, and the hidden self in everyone. Most cannot see Brahman ever shining, Nachiketa. It is revealed only to those who keep their minds single-pointed, fixed on the Lord of love, and thus they develop a superconscious manner of intuitive knowing. Meditation enables one to go deeper and deeper into consciousness, from the world of words to the world of thoughts, then beyond thoughts to the wisdom and silence of the self. So get up, wake up, Nachiketa. Seek illumination and realize the self. Sharp like a razor's edge, the sages say of this path of truth, and difficult to traverse. The Supreme Self, Param Atman, is beyond name and form, beyond the senses, inexhaustible, without beginning or end, beyond time, space, and causality. The self is eternal, immutable. Those who realize the self are forever free from the jaws of death.